Here we go, we're back down at TES again, and today is the day we're doing the electrical fit out on our 76. Now I've left the electrical side of things right to the end for one really good reason. I only ever want to do it once, and I want to do it right. So we're just waiting for our man Greg from REDARC. I can't wait to get stuck in. So here we go, like I mentioned earlier, the day's finally here. If you don't know already, this is Greg Mitchell. He's the Territory Manager of REDARC Electronics for here in New Zealand. And couldn't be a better man supervising this build, to be honest. I don't think
we'll see, mate, we'll see.
So what we're doing this time, we are completely going to town with the electrical setup. With my last Land Cruiser, I had the REDARC Manager 30. Now we're stepping it up. We've still got the Manager 30, but we're also going for the REDARC Redvision system, which is a completely integrated switching system that incorporates all the relays and fusing and everything like that. Which is really the future is here.
Yeah, exactly. I guess what really the whole Redvision system is about is it allows someone like Lars, or anyone really with a little bit of electrical know-how or knows how to use a spanner and a screwdriver and a pair of pliers, to be able to do a whole electrical system and electrical fit out themselves. Or if they want to, they can take it to someone like Tauranga Diesel here, and it's really like a one-box solution that's designed to everything to work together. So your battery charging, your circuit switching, you can even do water tank monitoring, you can monitor the temperature of your fridges even. So we can do like the whole electrical system almost all in one. So that's really what it's all about.
And it's a system I've really been looking forward to having in the car. So Greg, we've got an empty whiteboard here.
Yeah, nice. Best place to start.
I think it's time to start writing a list of jobs we've got to get through.
Yep, absolutely.
So where do we start?
Yeah, so look, any electrical system, you want to start from the loads, so what you're going to be running. You plan out from the start, so all the different things you want to run, all the different lighting circuits, fridge, compressor, whatever it's going to be, you know, charge outlet, sockets, all that kind of thing. You write all those down, and then you work out, all right, that's cool, that's what we want to run. Now, where are we going to put all the different components? So where are you going to mount the batteries, or in this case, the two different batteries? Where are you going to mount the chargers, all that type of thing? And there's lots of things that goes into it. So it's really about, you go loads, then where are you going to put everything, and then how are you going to connect it all together? And obviously then try to connect it all together and make it all work. So that's the basics in a nutshell.
Yeah. And then with electrical systems, like I mentioned earlier, the reason I've left the whole install right to the end of the build is because the biggest thing for me is I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do it once.
Yeah, that is a big thing, you're right, because planning it rather than just starting with, say, a battery and then adding one circuit and then adding another and then a few weeks later adding another, you just ends up with a bird's nest. If you can, it's better to just do it all at once, plan it properly, and that's where using a system like Redvision really comes into its own, because it's built as a complete ecosystem. Everything works together, and it's designed to save time on an installation and just make everything a lot more reliable, a hell of a lot less wiring, switches, relays, all that kind of thing. So it makes an installation like this a real breeze comparatively to doing it the old school way with, you know, 10 switches on the dashboard type of thing. Yeah, so.
All right, let's crack into it.
Cool, easy. Cool, so look, I'm just gonna go over the basic components of the Redvision system and just show you why it's quite simplistic. A lot of people think that this system's quite complicated and everything else, but when you see how many components that it actually entails, it's really, really simple. So I guess the part that most people interact with is what we call the display control panel. So this would go somewhere where you can access it. In this particular install, we're actually going to have one in the gull wing, I guess you'd call it on the living side. So when you're parked up camping, you can get in there, switch things on and off, the inverter and so on. There's also going to be another one in the dashboard, because this system here is quite unique in that we're going to be using it to switch the front spotlights, the front light bar, left, right and rear light bars, and the rock lights as well. So you really need access straight on the dashboard, so that's really cool. But essentially what we've got here is we've got your distribution box. So you have a power feed coming into this, and then you've got 10 circuits that come out of it. So you've got 5 10 amp circuits, 5 30 amp circuits, so you can switch things like your fridge, your lights, air compressors and so on. This little beast here, this is what we pulled out of Lars's old truck. This is what they call the Manager 30. So this looks after the battery charging. So this is a mains charger, so when it's parked up at home or if you pull into a campground, you can plug into mains. It also charges DC to DC from the alternator, and it also has a solar input as well. So on this particular truck, there's nowhere on the roof to mount a fixed solar panel, but we're going to set it up with an Anderson plug so you can then plug in your solar blanket. That's the inverter, so that's obviously optional to the system, because then you can choose whatever size you want, anywhere from a 350 up to a 3000 watt inverter. It then plugs from here into our little inverter port, and it means that from this display you can turn the inverter on and off, and if there's any faults with the inverter, low voltage or over amperage or whatever it might be, that'll actually come up on the display and tell you. The last component of this, which we've also taken out of Lars's old truck, is the battery sensor. So this little unit is kind of like a water flow meter in a tank, where this is looking at how many amps are flowing in and out of the battery, sends all that info back into here, and it gives you a nice little readout on this display showing you exactly what you've got left in the battery, kind of like a fuel tank in your car. It also gives you a rundown of exactly how long until the battery's flat when you're discharging, and how long till it's full when you're recharging. So it's a bit like having one of those meters on your dash in your modern vehicle, where it shows you you've got 400 Ks until the tank's empty. So really, really simple to use. What we're also going to add into this installation is an SBI 12. So this is what we call a smart battery isolator. So this little unit is kind of old school technology, but it's got a really good use in this particular truck. We've actually got two batteries under the bonnet. We've got the standard the standard cranking battery, and then we've got an auxiliary battery. And what this little unit does is it joins those two batteries together while the engine's running. In this particular installation, we're actually going to be running the spotlights and the front roof light and all of the surrounding lights off of that auxiliary battery, so that we don't run them off the house battery. What it's also going to do is, with this little unit, is that if the start battery goes flat for any reason, there's a little button on the dash you can push, and where it says battery link, hooks up to this little blue wire, and it allows you that when you're pushing that button in, if your start battery goes flat, you push the button, it links the auxiliary battery to the start battery, and then you can crank your engine over and get on the way again. So it's going to be quite a cool install, this, that kind of covers all the bases, and yeah, hopefully allows you to never get stuck.
So one of the most challenging things with a wagon is to get power up to the roof without drilling through the roof. My plan is to remove the rear stop lamp here and actually run the cables out through the light. Hopefully that works. Although this was a bit of a mission to get off, I read up a couple of forums. The way to get your rear light out, you've got this kind of plastic trim. It's got a couple of pins. That literally just pulls out, it takes a bit of levering, and then you've got a few screws holding the actual trim, the whole light on there. And that should hopefully give me a little bit of an access so I can get the cables out on the roof without having to drill holes into my roof. So just like I thought and what I'd hoped for, I've pulled the rubber grommet out, and there's actually a, well, nice finger-sized hole through the roof. That's factory. So I'll be able to seal that up nicely, but I'll be able to get my cables through it and then seal that all up again without having to drill holes. Win. Very good. So one of the features of this next generation Pioneer platform is that it's actually got internal cable tracks, which is really nice. What I've done here, I've actually poked all the cables for the light bars through the roof rack, running all the way to the back of the car where it's going in through the roof. What that allows it to do is basically it keeps all the cables protected and out of the weather. And the other thing, it gives a really nice clean look. You won't see any of the cables once it's all finished. So nice little feature there, but pretty happy with the way it's coming together. So one of the key telltale signs that an auto sparky really knows what he's doing is that you can't actually see his work at all because he's managed to hide it so well. So do you want to talk us through how you get cables in through roofs and how you hide your cables away so it actually looks really nice and tidy?
So one of the problems we have as auto electricians is obviously when we mount lights on the outside of the vehicle, we've got to try and get the wiring inside the vehicle and to the various switches. Obviously we don't drill inside onto a roof of any vehicle. On other vehicles, some of the vehicles I've done is on the chimneys. You can go through the aerial on the roof. You can make a hole through there, same with the Ford Ranger. Obviously we've got to make sure it seals properly for water not to obviously go into the vehicles. We undo all the inside of the trimming on both sides of the vehicle, so we've got nice access. We'll sleeve this and make sure it secures properly so there's no rattling when you drive.
So I know it looks like spaghetti now, but the whole plan is to hide this all tucked away inside the interior, inside the trim, and get this all nice and tidy running into the box. That's the beauty about having this whole distribution panel for the Redvision system, is that all of these cables all feed into that, and all the relays and switches and everything inside the Redvision distribution box, which means installing them is actually a lot easier than you might think. It's just a matter of running the cables and plugging them in. So you've met Craig already. He's a resident auto sparky here at TDS. And Craig, so tell us, what kind of projects do you guys generally deal with, and what do you kind of see coming across the workshop?
Oh, well, basically we do your general auto electrical faults like indicators, brake lights and things like that don't work. That sometimes the other guys will take a job on and then they'll just ask me for advice because it's not that tricky. But as soon as it comes to ECU problems, vehicles not starting, obviously we've got to delve into wiring diagrams and scanning the vehicles for fault codes and things like that. And then, obviously the nice stuff we do, what I like to do is obviously the four-wheel drive installations like these REDARC systems, the battery chargers and things like that, the dual battery systems. I've also installed a few on boats, which is quite interesting. Really enjoy this kind of thing because it's clean and the customer can actually see what he's paying for at the end of the day.
And that's one really nice thing about having, customizing your own vehicle, is that the electrical systems on every person's vehicle is going to be slightly different.
That's right, yes.
Because they're all building it for their own needs and what they want to get out of it. So every day is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's not the same wiring diagram you'll use. Each one is different. You've got to route the wires differently. So it makes it interesting.
Cool. Well, thanks for your help, Craig, and can't wait to see the system running.
Pleasure. Looking forward to it.
So I'm pretty proud of this little brainchild I had by putting this basically standard Toyota Land Cruiser dash panel. So this is where the stereo normally goes, but I wanted to have the display panel in the dash. And when I'm finished with it, I put the cover on, almost looks like a factory install. So I just had a few little brackets made up to hold it in there. Yeah, little things, I guess. Well, it's been a big 3 days, Greg.
Certainly has.
I honestly can't thank you enough.
No worries, mate.
Same with the team from TDS. It's been a bit of a feat, but the end result is something to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we're going to do, I'm going to get Greg to talk us through exactly how the little features work and what we've actually installed.
Yeah, all good. So essentially what we've done in Laz's vehicle in the LC76 is we've put in what we call a total vehicle management system, or Redvision is what we call it. So it consists of four main components: a battery charger, which looks after all of the charging from alternator, solar and mains, a distribution box, a display, in this case actually two displays. We've got one here in the side another one in the dashboard, and a battery sensor. But all of that, basically what you end up doing is you have this control panel which allows you to switch on and off all the different circuits in terms of lighting, air compressor, fridge, inverter, all that type of thing, all from this one display. And it also gives you all of your battery information. It shows you what's left in the battery, how much time you've got to run when you're draining power out of it, when you're driving and you're the next day, you know, after you've been camped up. It's going to tell you how many hours until the battery's full. In this case, we've also, Lars is going to be installing a water tank. This system can also monitor up to 6 water tanks. Obviously in a vehicle like this, it's very rarely you're going to have even more than one, or one in anyway, but you can do up to 6 tanks on it. So all of that information on the one display. Built into that display as well is a Bluetooth chip, so there's actually an app you can get for Android and iOS that means you can hook into it with your phone via Bluetooth. So if you are somewhere far away from the vehicle, 10-20 meters away, and you want to turn the outside lights on, you can. If you're driving and you want to check what's going on with the batteries or anything else, you can do that. So basically everything you can do here, you can also do on your phone. So what we've got here, this is the Redvision display, and Lars has actually mounted this in the dashboard of the vehicle, so replaced the head unit that's usually in there. Fits really nicely. So what we've got here is the controls for all the different lights. So we've got our left side lights, right side lights, rear, we've got rock lights, and we've also got the controls on here for our front spotlights and also for the front light bar. But I don't know if you can see it, but these are actually locked out. They've got a little padlock on them so that you can't use them unless the high beams are on. So if I flick the high beam on, it means that we can now turn those on, and we can actually do it from our phone as well. So if we have those turned on and then let the high beam go, they will turn off and they get locked out. So essentially anything you can do here, you can also do on your phone. So all the monitoring of all the different batteries in the system, the solar. The best thing about it, we can even see how cold our beers are on our phone and on the display. So under the bonnet here, what we've got is we've got our factory fitted start battery. We've also, the guys at TDS here have fitted an auxiliary battery. So this is basically the same size as the crank battery, and it's used to run all the lights when the engine's running. It can run all of the spotlights and side lights and everything for a while the engine's off, but it also acts as a backup for if this battery here gets run down and won't start. So our little REDARC SBI here, as soon as you start the engine up, this will actually sense the voltage and it will know that the engine's running because the voltage has come up. This little thing here will light up red, so you know that the batteries are linked and you know this one's charging. Now that little button we showed you on the dash before, you can actually push this battery link button and it will turn the battery isolator on, link the batteries together, and you can hold your finger in there and then crank the engine over so you'd never get stuck. The other thing we've also done with it is we've also hooked up the SBI to the winch. You'll see as soon as I engage the winch, this will light up as well and link the batteries. So it doesn't matter if we're winching in or out, it links the batteries, so it means that we're winching off both of them rather than just one, which just gives us a bit more power and makes the winch run a hell of a lot better. So there's a lot you can do with these smart little SBIs.